Okay, so this is full body contact interactive. I am the guy, for better or for worse, who co-created the first Madness Classic NLP with Richard, and for the last 20 years with Carmen, this new code set of patterns. So, insofar as anyone knows the answers to your questions, it probably would be me and Carmen. So I invite you to ask. There are no stupid questions. There may be irrelevant or inappropriate answers. I'm very good at these. But there are no stupid questions. An apparently simple question literally uncovers a whole new set of possibilities. So I would like you to feel free to make objections, to make extensions, to ask for clarification, to challenge any part of this. To me, this is a wonderful. I give you an example of where this really comes from in my personal history. I'm the oldest of 9 children. We never had money. My dad was a carpenter. My mother was not a virgin, though, so don't worry about that part of it. Yeah, we kept it on the back. Yeah. And the typical evening meal, which my mother and father insisted everybody be present for, which I think is a really good idea in families, was somebody, after the first round of grabbing whatever food was on the table, because with 9 children and 2 adults, you had to move quick to make sure you got your share. Somebody would propose a topic, and the first person who spoke would take some passionate, logical, illogical, didn't matter, position on this topic. And then immediately one of the other siblings, because you have to remember, in a group of 9 children, a family of 9 children, the issue is differentiation. My mother, when we would leave a park or a beach or something, would simply count to make sure she had the right number. And I can remember at least 2 occasions where she discovered about a mile down the road a kid that didn't look familiar. And we had to go back and drop him off or her off and then pick up the one we had left behind. So differentiation was the issue in a large family like this. And each one of us in turn would express some passionate perceptual position on the topic on the table in the dinner. Yelling, screaming, pounding, because at the end of the meal, we would all smile at each other. We're still full family. That is, the bonds of blood and family were so much stronger than any possible verbal disputes that it gave us complete freedom to express ourselves in very passionate ways and differentiate ourselves by presenting these different perceptual positions about the topic. And I invite you to think about that as a possible metaphor for what we do for these 2 days. So I'm here. For better or for worse, I'm the sort of source of most of this stuff. So, any questions, comments, challenges, I would be delighted to have to this. So those are the boundary conditions, the modeling distinction and the content and process distinction. And I would propose that anyone doing work that proposes to be doing work in NLP has to meet those 2 criteria in order for them to be legitimately considered a member of the community doing patterning in NLP. This, I think, the UK is, in particular the Academy, is the center at the moment for promoting, extending this distinction, insisting on it. And it's a pleasure to be associated with Michael and Carmen in this endeavor, and you, because this is what you're doing. So that brings me to my only request I'll make of you. Orthodoxy is a terrifying thing. I have no interest in imposing constraints on your behavior as new code trainers. I want you to investigate. So let me sharpen this question. What justification is there in a training program for teaching classic code patterns? That's this question. Well, the beginning of the answer is quite easy. There are things which are presupposed by the new code, which come out of classic code, which I consider absolutely an essential foundation for the new code. Let me be precise about what they are. Rapport. Without rapport, nothing happens anyway. So all of them, and now things get a little fuzzier. So let me jump directly to Luca's question about 6-step reframing. Why am I reluctant to leave this son of a bitch in the past? That's the question. Now, in terms of a coherent history of the development of patterning in NLP, it is, in my perception, as Carmen and I characterized it in the book Whispering in the Wind, it's the crossover, it's the breakthrough pattern. Because in that pattern, suddenly, in contrast to all other NLP patterns of the era, which were mostly anchoring formats, it assigns the responsibility for the selection of new resources, states, behaviors, etc., unspecified, what level of experience you're going to select. It assigns responsibility for the selection of that to the unconscious mind. And typically in six-step reframing, the way I do it, my bias is that the client won't even know what the positive intention of the behavior to be changed is. They only know that they've got an involuntary physiological body sensation which has been defined and tested to be involuntary and yes or no, having both. And the unconscious has offered the signal, yes, there is a positive intention. And to me, the ideal application of six-step reframing is I won't even bother to go, do you want to know what it is? I'll just go, fine. Do you accept this? Yes, I accept it. And we go on. So it's secret therapy with respect to the agent of change. It's even secret therapy with respect to the consciousness of the person who's undergoing the change. Why do I like this so much? Well, number one, it makes life a lot simpler. And as soon as you start engaging in content, things start getting complex. And there's always that almost irresistible compulsion that we carry to understand. It's just not your job. Now, let's contextualize. In change work, direct change work, it's none of your business. And I would recommend that you not know any of this stuff because it makes your life a lot easier and the work is better. And I hope you all have examples of where you have dabbled in content and haven't dabbled in content with similar clients and noticed the difference in how profound the change is, how well it generalizes to other contexts and so forth. Insofar as it's made conscious, it's limited in generalization. Insofar as it's left unanalyzed, unlabeled, it will tend to generalize itself to far more contexts in the client's life. Okay, so I like that aspect of it, and notice that automatically, since I don't know what the hell's going on at the level of content, I couldn't possibly impose anything. It forces me to a pure process perceptual position. Similarly, if the material is kept away from the conscious mind of the client, similarly, they learn a very simple process. There are two things that are gold in that format. One is the development and use of involuntary physiological sensations as yes-no signals with the unconscious. That's gold. As soon as you get that, you get the world opens itself in certain ways. Second thing it has in there is the explicit use of the intention frame. And these are the two pieces that have been ripped out of six-step reframing and occur ad nauseum in the new code. This constant, what's the intention? What's the consequence? Compare the intention, the consequences. If they match, continue. If they don't match, change the implementation. Change the actual way you're carrying out the intention until you find one that produces consequences which are congruent with the intention, the original intention. And this is dynamite.